Welcome back to the Emotional Mastery Podcast. Today, I have like a lot on my mind. I had an idea of what I was going to come talk about, and then today happened, and I'm experiencing this low again. And I felt over the last majority of August and so far into September, these like dips of my emotions. And it's interesting because I've really been pretty neutral over the last year, I'll say. And it's been this really like a roller coaster of emotions, and it's been a little bit confusing, and I'm trying to figure it out. I felt very unmotivated, I felt very defeated, I felt very overwhelmed, I felt very frustrated, and I'm like trying to pinpoint what it is because I can never just let things go. I always want to figure it out, which is a beautiful thing. And also sometimes I'm like, is it that serious? Like, can't we just let go and have fun and relax and not trying always figure everything out? And so it's just sort of what's been on my mind, I guess, lately. I, the first thing that I reflect on is it's interesting because, love and money are so intertwined. And it's really interesting because before I was manifesting money and that was going really well. And now I feel like I'm dating somebody that I'm excited about, is feels so healthy, so safe, like all the things. And of course, I've had my ups and downs like around that just because it's not what I normally enter into. And all the rest of it is sort of, I don't want to say suffering, but not where it has been. So it's been this like frustration of like, why can't they both come together? Like, why aren't they both coming together? Rather than not why can't they? Because I'm trying to like get out of that victim mindset. But let's be honest, we're all human. And it's so easy to be like, why me? Or like, why is this happening now? And like, why am I calling this in? And it's something I've really been trying to figure out. Like, why is it that it appears to be one or the other? And astrologically, Uranus is on my sun, like 1 degree off, and it's in retrograde now. So all these themes are coming up. Jupiter's in retrograde. Venus has been retrograde in Leo. So it's been moving through my first house. And it's just been a lot. And I know I'm not the only one. I have had a lot of it mirrored back to me from other people. But as Venus is now direct. I think it went direct September 3rd. So it was last week, last Sunday. So it was a little over a week ago. And just doing like a lot of reflecting around it because I don't know, I'm not even sure that I have exactly the right words to like articulate what I've been experiencing, because it's usually like when I come out of these lows is when I feel most articulate. I feel most like creative, inspired. I'm able to reflect a little bit better, but I feel like I'm still sort of in the thick of it and I'm not sure when that's going to end. Although I do always know like this too shall pass. It is all cyclical. I signed up for the Manifestation Babe Reset. So it's sort of like the program after MBA. So MBA ended, I think, in July. I don't know when it was. I think it was in July. I could be mistaken, but I believe that's when it was. And so it's sort of like now that that's ended, it's not that I'm uninspired, but I genuinely love to listen to things that lift me up and inspire me. And it's so easy when you get in that pattern of the lows of stopping all that, right? It's sort of like watching more TV or scrolling more. It's like you can get into that loop, and it's always, how can I put my foot in the door? How can I disrupt this pattern that I'm now creating to get me back to what actually feels good and to stop overthinking and things like that. And I was at work today and there was an instance that I like had a complaint against me, which I try not to hold on to, but also I feel like I'm very compassionate and I don't judge. I was going to say I don't judge anyone. However, we all judge people at some point. But I feel like when I do judge somebody, I turn it around. I'm like, why? What am I judging about myself that this person is bringing out? Right. But it's just, it was one of those things that I kind of found a hard time letting go. And I'm, because I feel like it was more of like a reflection of what I've actually been moving through, what I've been experiencing, what I've been going through, sort of that it's showing, it's seeping out. I'm allowing it to seep out energetically, and people are picking up on that. And it wasn't just the one thing, it was sort of like a snowball effect after that. And so I was just like so frustrated and I wanted to cry. I just wanted to like move on. And at the same time, I'm like, just let it go, just let it go. It's not about you. Like, it's fine. And although I know those things are true and I will be fine and I will let it go, there is an element of, I think when we're doing this work and we're trying to move ourselves forward spiritually, we're trying to heal and grow, we have these like standards that maybe are put there by somebody else. Like I have to act this way, or I have to be this way, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. And it's also just reminding ourselves that we're human. And I feel like although I've been experiencing a lot of lows, it's been very different than the past because I have this awareness that I didn't have before, where I can reflect on it and ask what it's showing about me and like all these other things. And I was in it last week. I mean, like I cried for like 2 days. I think it was last week or the week before. In typical Venus retrograde, I will actually sort of like review Venus retrograde because I hear it's like being called the summer of breakups, all the celebrities. I don't follow that stuff. I don't watch the news, but I hear there's a lot of them going on. Like I've encountering people, on the podcast or at work that are like, oh, I broke up or I'm starting a new relationship. And of course, like all like Venus retrograde things. But yeah, somebody reached out from the past, I guess, past air quote, whatever. Somebody reached out and it just like rocked me a little bit. And so I was really, really, I was upset about it. And so I moved through that. I lost my train of thought. I don't know where I was going with that. Just like being in these lows and being able to witness it. That's what I was getting at. So I was like, I was able to witness the stories that my mind was going. I was able to witness what my body was doing and why it was responding in that way. And I was able to sort of come back to myself. And so I was moving through these lows and I was crying because I was allowing myself to like cry and release in that way and through movement. And also just by laying on the couch and bed and watching TV and like whatever these things are. And I was just like asking, I was like, how can I pull myself out of this? And the answer was just like so simple. It's like, Rochelle, you interview people for the podcast, you do your own work, you've been through multiple different programs, and the answer is always the same. And we want to believe that it's something more. We want to believe it's something that's out of our grasp, but it's so easy. It's move, it's breathe, it's meditate. It's like bringing yourself into the present moment, bringing yourself into yourself. It's so fucking easy. And we want to overcomplicate it and we want to overthink it because it's not an instant quick fix like this, like when we meditate, when we come into stillness, when we're feeling those lows and we can tap into that heart-centered space, like, yeah, sure, maybe it's not going to be a lasting, whatever, but being able to tap into that for the moment and gaining that clarity, it's like, okay, like I can see it now. I can feel it. I can see what it is. I can tap into my higher self. And I know that this too shall pass, like whatever. Right. And it's like consistently coming back to those things. But yet when we're in these lows and we're cycling through it and we're feeling the victim mindset thing, we're like going through all these things. It's like our ego is resisting coming to the meditation. Our ego is resisting doing the breath work. Our ego is resisting moving our body. It just like wants us to stay in the cycle of like eat the food, lay in bed, watch the TV, scroll, numb, avoid all of these things. And so it becomes harder to reach into it, which is why I always talk about instilling these habits when you're not in your lows, so that when you do get in your lows, it's easier to grab in that toolbox and pick one out and just do one of them, right? Whatever that is, whether it's movement, breath work, whatever. Because when you don't have that as part of your daily routine, then when you're in those lows, they're going to prolong and it's going to be so much longer and you're going to cycle through it for days or weeks or months or years, whatever. Right. And so when you have these as part of your daily routine, those are like my top ones. I journal every single morning, rain or shine. There's been a couple times when I have like somebody spend the night or whatever that I don't get up and immediately journal, but every single day, basically. I wake up in the morning and I journal. I start with dreams. Any dreams that I've had, I journal on those. I journal gratitude. So I'm thankful for whatever. And then I do like my manifestation list. And it always is like, thank you for the success of the podcast, for Holistic Human Design Academy and all the magical souls, and for multiple streams of income, financial freedom, travel, abundance, all these things, right? So I thank the universe for these things that I already have, right? And then I move on with my day and I don't touch my phone other than to turn off my alarm, but I don't touch my phone until I'm done journaling. I'm having my coffee at the same time, drop the kids off. I go to the gym. So I'm moving my body and then, work. And then I come home and then I meditate at night. I do some TBM stuff, which I've been really feeling called to, especially as I've been going through these lows. And then on top of it, I have been doing flower remedies. So I use Alexa Smart flower remedies. I did it years ago too. And it's like, I think sometimes when you're really doing the shadow work, like I just started the unblocked shadow in TBM and doing the flower remedies. The one I'm doing is called In Love, and it's just like in love with yourself, in love with life. And I'm like tapping into your higher self and stuff like that. And then of course, like with Healy, which is like detoxing your system, it's sending your frequencies to raise your vibration, all the things. And it's just like a lot is coming up. A lot of the shadows are coming up. And I think with all this retrograding energy too, and like everything collectively that's happening, it's like asking us to purge and really like raise our vibration and move towards something that feels better, that is better. And it's not to like, I don't know, it's not like to like ignore everything else, but I don't know. I guess that's what I've been experiencing. And part of the defeatedness, if that's a word, I just made it up. I don't know. Defeatedness that I've been feeling. Part of the defeat that I've been feeling is that I talked about it a little bit last week on the podcast with Jesse Eccles. We were talking just like in recap of the summer in the last few months. But Holistic Human Design Academy, I launched it in May, and it was like beyond what I had expected. I 100% I followed my strategy north authority. Like I manifested that shit and it felt so good. The entire program felt so good and it was so easy. And it was like community was in there, transformations were in there. I mean, like the feedback has been phenomenal. And so in July, there was just something in me. And I know this is a shadow that I have to work on where it's like, I have something that works. And there's a little part of me that's like, you can't do that. Like, that's too good for you. Right. It's the idea of like being open to receive, and it's in being open to hold the space for what's coming. And so I launched it again, and it like nothing, right? Which was so defeating. It was really frustrating. So I'm like, I know that I have a container that is magical. Like I know this works. I feel it so deeply and it's reflected back to me. And I've spoken to the women in the program, and it's like, I know what this program is. There's literally nothing out there right now like this program. Human design and astrology are the foundations, and then we build on from that. So once you learn yourself through the lens of human design in astrology, your energetics, your emotional landscape, the emotional wave, like everything, literally everything I know about astrology and human design is put into this first 2 weeks. And it's a lot, right? So there's breaks in there where we have live calls and we talk about it. We do live examples. We'll do like transit stuff. Like it's a lot. And then we go from there. So then we talk about subconscious reprogramming and shadow work, because with human design and astrology, right, we're learning our energetics, we're meeting ourselves here. And with that comes a lot of shadows. So then we do the shadow work. We give tools, or I provide tools and support in moving through those shadows. And then we talk about emotions. Of course, we talk about the energetics. We talk about attachment theory, because this was a huge one that really, really changed the game for me, like massively changed the game for me. And we talk about the body, the physical body or physical vessel, because all of the other stuff is amazing. Human design and astrology is amazing. But if you're not tending to and taking care of your physical body, like it's a holistic thing, right? Which is why it's called Holistic Human Design Academy. And then we end the program with 3 weeks of the gene keys. And so we go through your genius sequence, we go through your Venus sequence, we go through your Pearl sequence, and we really begin the process of activating those and moving through those and understanding those. And throughout this entire program, there was live Q&A calls. We go through it. There's guests, like all of it. So I know the power of this program. And I, again, was experiencing so many lows last month. I wasn't motivated to create. I was just like I was just in this funk and I was not feeling it. Which, of course, like if you're a business owner, you're launching a program, like, yeah, you're human, but there are also things that you have to show up for. And so I'm still reflecting on the lessons that I was learning during that. But I just felt like really defeated, 100% honest. And a past version of me would have like pretended that the program second round was a success and like acting like I had people signed up or like whatever, but I'm not going to do that. Right. Like I'm not going to pretend, be like, I don't know. I'm leaning into my authenticity and I'm sharing my process, as messy as it can be. Right. And the journey and all the things. And there's always lessons in it. And so I actually had one of the students reach out to me yesterday, and it was just exactly what I needed to hear. But she was just like, she was like, I don't think that you're going to quit, but she's like, this program is like everything. It was such a beautiful message and it really uplifted me. And I was like, no, I'm definitely not quitting, because I know the power of this program. And so like that was one piece of it. Venus retrograde was so interesting. Again, like checking your chart where Leo is and what house it rules, it will really give you insight into the area of life. So just as like a quick recap, because I know a lot of people have co-star and it doesn't really give you the wheel. It just like kind of tells you. So you can find in that, if you have that, what house Leo rules. So the first house is the house of the self. It's like the I am, it's the ego. The second house is of your material, your resources. Then you have the third house, which is like your like close community, your neighborhood, siblings. Fourth house is home life. It's like your family, your lineage, your ancestry. The moon is ruled The moon rules the fourth house. The fifth house is creativity, it's fun, it's dating, it's playfulness. This is where Leo naturally rules. So all things Leo, dramatics, all the things. Sixth house is ruled by Virgo, but that is your daily life, or daily routine, your health, all those sort of things. Seventh house is the house of relationships, long-term relationships. So that can be marriages, it can be friendships, it can be business partnerships. All of the relationship stuff is in the seventh house. Eighth house is the dark, it's the deep, it's the sex, the occult, the drug, sex, rock and roll. That's the sort of house that is. It's ruled by Scorpio naturally. You have the ninth house, which is long distance travel, philosophy, education, religion, all the things are in that house. 10th house is career. It's your public persona. It is your public self. It's your reputation. Then you have 11th house, which is like your soul family. This is ruled by Aquarius. It's about technology, freedom, all the things. And then 12th house is sort of all the things that are hidden from us. It's really like the deep, dark thing, not dark. It's the deeper things. It's the very spiritual things. It's the things that are sometimes hidden from us, but are also so much a part of who we are. So, what house Leo ruled for you? So, for me, it was the first house. So, you have your rising, which bridges the 12th and the first house. So, you think about the womb is the 12th house, right? Let's use that analogy. The womb, the child is in the womb, it is inside the body. It is so much a part of the mother at that point, and then it's birthed into life. It is birthed into the house. So, your rising side is your rising sign is taking you from the womb into this physical life, into this body. And so Venus rules Taurus and Libra. So it is about money, it is about relationships, it is about art, values, morals, beauty, all the things. So all those themes were probably coming up in Leo, and Leo is a little bit dramatic. So I actually love like Venus and Leo, like energy. It's just like it's in your face and it's out there and it wants to be seen and it wants to love big and it wants to like feel all the things. And so being in the first house, a lot of times this is, changing the way that you look, just changing your physical body or attending to your body and things like that. So literally Venus went retrograde July 22nd. And the day it went retrograde, I had somebody that I did last year, like reach out, like on the day, July 22nd, reach out to me. And I hadn't heard from them in like a year almost. And it was just like kind of a funny thing. And I hadn't really been dating, but for some reason around that time I was, of course, because it's Venus, right? Venus and Leo, and I'm a Leo rising, but I was called to like get back on the apps and date a little bit more. And so then I started dating somebody. I talked about it a little bit last time, and I'll get more into it at another episode when I don't know, when it's been a little bit longer, because it's like only been a month now. But yeah, like it feels very different than what I'm used to. It feels very safe. It feels very healthy. It feels like I can communicate. This person is affectionate, expressive, like all the things that like I have been wanting. And at the beginning of it, I had a moment where I was just like, am I even attracted to this person? And not like physically, but more so because my nervous system wasn't activated. It felt like a friend more so than somebody I was trying to impress. And that might be the wrong verbiage for what I'm trying to explain. But I'm so used to in relationships, my nervous system being activated, me being anxious, me like feeling that like confusing that anxiety with like excitement. Because I've been in toxic, abusive, manipulative, all the things relationships. And so there is an element of that feels like all I know of love, right? And so to have something that I don't feel that way was very strange. And so I've had moments where that like self-sabotage or like wanting to push somebody away or just being like, let's just end this before like whatever. And there's a part of me with awareness and consciousness in because I've, done a lot of work around what I want to call in, that I'm like, no, this is like I want to explore this. And so that's sort of been happening. And then I had another one reach out again, like a couple weeks ago, that just like totally like threw me. And I was like, of course. And so I've sort of just like been reflecting on this, but I feel like with that, I've been in a good place. Yeah, I feel like I've been in a good place. And so it's just interesting that it feels like the career stuff, I'm pretty sure Venus is square my Sun or my Mercury, because they're both in Taurus in the 10th house. But either way, like there's a lot going on. Uranus is like, I think, the biggest player there, where Uranus is retrograding through my 10th house and has been there for a while, but now it's like on top of my Sun. So it's just like bringing a lot of anxiety and unpredictability, where I'm like, what's happening? And it's literally because I think now it's like conjunct, like almost directly conjunct my Sun. I'm in this like burn it all down, like let's just start over. And it's weird because like I don't feel like, I think in the past, like these lows, the lows are just a little bit different. Like in the past, it would have been very, very victimy. And although I have moments of that now, it's more like, okay, I trust the process. It's more of like a surrendering. And yeah, just even like, even though I'm sort of feeling shitty at the same time, it feels more of like a surrendering. And it's like, okay, coming back to what works. Um, but again, like today I went to work and I was like, okay, it was fine. And I think having that reflected back to me, like having the complaint against me was just, I felt like it was my energy seeping out. And so that like, again, it snowballed after that. And I was on my way home and I just like wanted to cry. Just like, ugh, I wanted to cry. And I didn't. I was in the car and I feel like the car is like my favorite place to cry. And I usually do. But for some reason today I was like, I'll just like cycle through it when I get home. And so who knows, but I'm was listening to the manifestation reset, and that sort of brought my energy back up, because I really try and listen to things and ingest things that inspire me and lift me up and raise my vibration. So like food, like whatever it is. And so it's just like this process of coming back to myself and finding what lights me up. I actually turned off all of my notifications from my phone today. Um, except for like a handful of people that can make it through. But other than that, I turned off notifications for Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Snapchat, which I'm not even on Snapchat, but I get notifications and they drive me crazy. So literally like everything, YouTube, email, I've turned off all my notifications, because it's like we get this like dopamine hit. And it's interesting because I was listening to a podcast this morning. I think it was the oh my gosh, I can't remember what it's called, Lacey Phillips podcast, expanded podcast, and she had a neuroscientist on there. And she was talking about like the little dopamine hit that we get from seeing the notification or getting the DM or receiving the email or like whatever, like the notifications give us this little hit of dopamine. So we're like constantly scrambling for that, which is what the scrolling is about. Right. And so I was like, okay, let me remove these. So I have my, as it just gave me a notification, I am notification. I have that, the I am app, and it's just like literally sends you affirmations however many times a day that you schedule it. And I do love those. Like right now, I won't read it, but so I have those on, and again, those few people that can reach me, but I just felt like so I was listening to that this morning, and then the manifestation babe reset, one of the protocols for energetic detox is to turn off your notifications. So it's like, all right, this is the second time in the day, second time today that's come up for me. So I'm just going to turn them all off. I won't get distracted by it. I probably will be on my phone less, because I've noticed like the scrolling has increased. And yeah, so that's sort of like my reflection. I don't know I don't know. I don't know what I'm going with that, what I'm saying, but that's like my Venus retrograde reflection. That's what I've been witnessing over the last month. I know I'm not the only one. And that's why I like share all these things on here. I share my life because I know that I'm not the only one experiencing it, right? I'm not the only one going through it. And as I was on my healing journey, I think community, podcasts, group programs were the thing that made me feel not alone. And so when I created this podcast, that was one of the important things for me, because just like knowing you're not alone in whatever you're going through. And so I know the transits are affecting all of us, but like transits aside, like if astrology doesn't resonate with you, we're humans. We're going through these cycles, and we're always going to be going through these cycles. And whether it's the transits or whether it's what you're eating or whether it's alcohol or like whatever, like something's going to affect you. And so I just finding those tools again to come back to yourself. And I feel like that's been my biggest piece of advice to myself. And so it is my biggest piece of advice to you. Just make sure you're incorporating the things that work when you're in a high, when you're feeling good, so that when you are feeling low and you're finding yourself in that space, you can then much easier be like, okay, I need to meditate. I'm going to set my alarm for 5 minutes. I'm just going to find stillness. I'm going to come back to myself. I'm going to, cut out the sugar, like whatever, works in those low moments, while also having grace with yourself that you're human. And sometimes you just want to feel like shit. You just want to, like Friday, I literally sat and I watched TV all day and I was just like feeling sorry for myself, which like it is what it is, right? I pick myself out of it, but I let myself have those few moments, few hours that I let myself have that day of just like feeling like that and moving through it. But the key is, what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to shift? What are you going to change to like get out of that so it doesn't become the everyday norm? So let me know what you think. If you have been feeling this energy, like reach out to me on Instagram. It's at Rochelle.Christiane, ROCHELLE.CHRISTIANE. I love hearing from you guys. It literally makes my day. Everything you need is in the show notes. Holistic Human Design Academy waitlist is open. So the waitlist link will be in the show notes as well. TikTok is RochelleChristiane.com. No, that's my website, RochelleChristiane.com. TikTok is Rochelle.Christiane, same as Instagram. And then YouTube is at Emotional Mastery Podcast. I'm trying to get them all up on there. I haven't been the best at it, but I'm trying. So that is my episode for today, and I will catch you next week.